Hey everyone, Mike Davis here. Welcome to another Thursday Night Live. I hope that you're enjoying your Thursday evening. Tomorrow's Friday, and let's see who we got here so far. That's spoken. Scott, of course. Marianne, Brian, Darren, Frank. Hey, um, Mr. Jetpack, Jeff Thomas. Sent an email to your brother, and I don't know how often he checks his email. Uh, hey Kim, Jeff. So anyway, yeah, if you're new, which I don't think anyone here is, but if you are new, I do this every Thursday night. The regular at 10 p.m. Eastern. The regular podcast is Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern, where the panel and I interview writers and other creative people and chat about horror, all that good stuff. Um, which reminds me, I keep remembering I don't have Netflix, but maybe I should get it for 1 month at some point. I don't know if I can afford it right now, but if I get it for 1 month because I want to watch Adam Neville's movie because uh, I've seen The Ritual, but his other one, No One Gets Out Alive, I think it's called. Um, Everyone just raves about that one as well. So I need to check that out. Um, Midnight Mass, the series, I've seen that. Or are you talking about a movie? Anyway, on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, I read live horror. The last several Tuesdays, I've read from The Price of Fear, um, paperback. Yeah, I remember seeing the series when it first came on several years ago. It's on Netflix, right? I had Netflix at the time. So, hey Suzanne, how is being off of being out of school treating you? Too much noise going on in here. Um, yeah. Also forgot to turn off my ice maker, so if you hear a clitter clatter, that's what that is. Um, Let me know how the sound is. Let me know how the vision is. And welcome everyone who's watching live, everyone who's watching later. Where did I put my notes? Oh yeah. So first of all, thanks guys. First of all, I interviewed Brian Evanson for the Deep Background Patreon series. What's today? Thursday. Yesterday, and I'll have that up on the Patreon tomorrow. For those of you, I think everyone here is a patron, but in case someone here is not a patron, I have a hell of a lot of Patreon only podcasts. And one of those series is called Deep Background. And I've interviewed people like Ramsey Campbell and Laird Barron and Nadia Bolkin and Gwendolyn Keist and others, John Langan. And it's a series that focuses on the person themselves, the choices that they've made in order, how did they become this creative person? And Brian had some really interesting things to say. There was a controversy about his writing when he was at Brigham Young, and we covered that, and we covered a bunch of stuff. So it'll be up tomorrow. I think you guys will really enjoy the interview. We talked for a little over an hour. Anyway, wanted to let you know about that because I think everyone here is a Patreon. Darren says, I read Gotcha, thought it was good. Yeah, the Velt is great. It's really overhyped in my view, but that's just me. But, when something's overhyped, there's usually a reason, and it's because it's really good, right? So, um, speaking of recommendations, I have a few for you. I was looking through my bookshelves, and I just started stacking. Do not. Nope. Sorry, Monty. That's a stop sign right there. Lay down, buddy. It's all right. So I went through. I was going through some books the other day, and I kept just pulling off books that I don't think I've recommended, or if I have, maybe not to you guys, or maybe not in a long, long time. Hey, Tony and Cursed Lantern Music. Thank you. I'm glad everyone's here. So let's cover the recommendations first. As always, they're not all going to be cosmic horror. Um, nope, sorry, Monty. You've got plenty of table space right here, buddy. There you go. Good boy. Anyway, that's part of the whole thing. You get to deal with Monty too, just like me. Anyway, um, thanks, Jeff. I can change the color. Watch this. It's this desk that Danielle and Logan bought me when we moved in here a couple of years ago. They chose one with, well, you've probably seen it in pictures, but it has these little lights on it. So, all right, this is what you signed up for. Let's change colors. There's purple, some sort of sickly green there that I don't ever turn on. That's almost a white. There's now it's got flashing ones too. So I know, right? No, Scott, he doesn't want the table. He wants my cup of water that's over on this side away from him. So, all right, there's red, kind of fades in and out. Oh, there it fades to blue. Yeah, I know, groovy. All I need now is a what do they call those things? I'm blanking on the jar of that they had in the 70s. Anyway, back to the regular. Not a disco ball. Lava lamp. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. Yep, now all I need is a lava lamp. I have a Coke over here for energy, and I have water over here for my throat. So, anyway, the tooth is out. I'm one tooth closer to the ultimate goal of becoming a toothless old man. And, yeah. Anyway, as always, not all of these recommendations will be horror or cosmic horror, but some of them will be. Now, the first one, which Whitley Whitley Strieber has written some good books. My two favorites of his is I forget the name of the werewolf book because I don't have it in front of me. Geez, man, thank you for the tip. That's a big tip. Um, Thank you. I really appreciate that, especially right now. We're having some repairs done on our car, and they are expensive. And if you're not part of the Patreon, I don't know if you are or not, Cursed Lantern, but you get some stuff back for that um, for when you give money. So that's true. Now I could go get Netflix. All right. So anyway, thank you. You just made my day. Anyway, but the one I want to recommend is Majestic. Now, everybody knows that he believes all this alien stuff, Communion, the movie, and all that. But this is a fictional version of the Roswell incident, and it is not something that I would have thought I would have enjoyed, but it is so good. I've read it 3 times over the years. Um, that cover doesn't really doesn't really do justice to the sense of mystery in this novel. The visitors, um, the people who are affected by this. So uh, I really, um, I recommend that. Whitley Strieber's Majestic is a good one, and if I can't remember the name of the werewolf book that he wrote, but that is very good as well. As long as we're talking about Strieber. All right, Matt Carpenter will disagree with me on this, but here's a book by James A. Moore called Deeper, and as you can see, it's quite Lovecraftian. Um, Golden Cove today appears to be, this will be familiar. Golden Cove today appears to be a charming New England seacoast town. But there are dark stories from decades past when the town had a different name. Captain Joe Bearden's heard them all, tall tales to entertain the tourists, he thinks. He doesn't hesitate to hire his boat out to a research team, eager to begin a month-long diving expedition. I need some light. So no one is more surprised than Captain Joe by the thing that the team finds in an offshore underwater cave. Their first mistake is in bringing it ashore. Their second is believing that it can't survive on land. Their third is thinking that it's the only one of its kind. So it's sort of half Lovecraftian, well, mostly Lovecraftian with a ghost ship thrown in, if memory serves. Um, this I don't know how to even describe, but Gus Marino is a fairly new writer over the last couple of years, and this is a really good book. This Thing Between Us, um, very creepy. I won't read the whole back here, but it's it's really good. You should read it. Now, one of the masters of cosmic horror out there is Brian Hodge. He sent me his latest book, for which I am really grateful. But The Immaculate Void by Brian Hodge is just incredible. You wouldn't think that events happening years apart at points in the solar system hundreds of miles, millions of miles distant would have anything to do with each other. Darren, we're going to talk about astronomy a little later. When she was 6, Daphne was taken into a neighbor's tool shed and came within seconds of never coming out alive. Most of the scars healed, except for the one that went all the way through. You wouldn't think that the serial murders of children and the one who got away would have any connection to the strange fate of one of Jupiter's moons. And I won't read the whole thing on the back, but it ends with but in ominous signs that have traveled light years to be seen by human eyes, and that plummet from the sky, the ultimate truth is revealed. There are some things in the cosmos that terrify even the gods. Yeah, Deeper, the James Moore book, is definitely a kind of decades later, maybe even a century later, not quite, 80, 90 years later sequel to Shadow over Innsmouth. You are correct, sir. Um, this is a collection by Richard Lupoff, who is just he's been known in Lovecraftian and cosmic horror circles for decades, and it's really really good. Cosmic horror in there, for example, from the back from one of the stories. But even then, what is a mere 2 million years, even 5 million years, in the history of a planet 6 billion years of age? What mighty species might have evolved in the seas or on the continents of this world, might have learned to think and to speak, to build towering cities and construct great engines, to compose eloquent poems and paint magnificent images, and then have disappeared, leaving behind no evidence that they had ever walked the earth, or at least no evidence of which we are aware. Wow, thanks, man. You're making me rich here. Rich for me. I, uh, thank you. I don't know what to say. I really appreciate it. But yeah, get Terrors by Richard Lupoff. Now, let me also say, if any of you, just real quick, and then I'm going to the next uh, recommendation. If any of you deal with depression, um, you know how horrible it is. Uh, I've dealt with it most of my life. I've been dealing with it more than usual lately. Today was tough, for example. Um, my point is not to complain, but my point is to tell you that if if you do, I just want you to know you're not alone, and that you can get through it. Um, it's it's hard to get through it sometimes, but you can. And I think I told a friend who was going through it one time. I said, I hate when people say, "Oh, you tell them, my leg really hurts because of this or that or whatever." "Oh, I know how you feel because blah blah blah," when really they don't. But it does help, I think, not to say things like, "I know how you feel if you're depressed," but I have an inkling, and I can tell you, I think it helps more than anything just to know that you're not alone with it. Okay, and that's all I'll say about that for now. So, oh, I think you'd recommend that book before I put it back down. All right, this is a really creepy book that I read, like, gosh, way before I even started Lovecraft easing. It's called Deep Night by Greg Gifune, Gifune, who has written a lot of books, so you should definitely check him out. If you like cosmic horror, by the way, especially sort of a sci-fi cosmic horror, you should also check out that Jeffrey Thomas character. You should check out Punktown. In fact, if you're watching me right now and you haven't read Punktown, any of the Punktown books, write it down. Write down Punktown and get it after the show. You really need to. And I read several of Jeff's books way before I ever knew him, before we were friends, and it's just amazing stuff and very disturbing. This is also very disturbing. Deep Night by Greg Jafune, and it was I was looking for when it was published. Yeah, 2005. It was first published. Now, what the setup is this. Uh, for Seth Roman, his younger brother Raymond, and their friends, it was supposed to be a few days of relaxation and fun, a getaway from their dull corporate jobs and troubled lives, a week of card playing and drinking at a cabin in the remote woods of northern Maine. But when a young woman staggers into their camp with her clothes covered in blood, their lives are changed forever. The woman brings with her something ancient and deadly, evil and inhuman, and something secretly familiar to Raymond, a man plagued by inexplicable night terrors as a child, the horrors of which still torment him as an adult. As an unexpected snowstorm moves in, the night will unfold and come alive, changing the very nature of their lives and beliefs, the very nature of time, and the very nature of good and evil. And then it goes into a year later, with only sparse memories of that horrible night, Seth and the others struggle to hold their lives together. And I won't read the rest of that, but you get the idea. Oh, you've read. Thank you again. And Deep Night is just, yeah. Deep Night is it not just so freaking disturbing, man? Here are a couple interesting books that have to do with Lovecraft that I would not call Lovecraftian at all, but they're very, very interesting. And the first one is called The Broken Hours by Jacqueline Baker. And it's got a couple different covers, so this may not be the cover that you find, but it I had her on the show when the book first came out. It's so poignant, so brilliant, um, with quotes like, did I get it cheap on Kindle one time too? Give me 1 second because I want to read you a quote um, from there, because if I did, I know that I highlighted it. Broken Hours. I did not. But ironically, I think I just had it bookmarked and lost the bookmark. Anyway, a sinister page turner about loneliness and the restless past. In the cold spring of 1936, Arthur Crandall, down on his luck and desperate for work, accepts a position in Providence, Rhode Island, as a live-in secretary/assistant for an unnamed shut-in. He arrives at the gloomy colonial-style house to discover that his strange employer is an author of disturbing, bizarre fiction. Who could that be? Health issues have confined him to his bedroom, where he is never to be disturbed. But the writer, who Crandall only knows as HP, I've never known if I say that correctly, refuses to meet him, communicating only by letters left on a table outside his room. Soon the home reveals other unnerving peculiarities. There is an ominous presence Crandall feels on the main stairwell. Light shines out underneath the door of the writer's room, but is invisible from the street. It becomes increasingly clear there is something not right about the house or its occupant. And it goes on. Oh, the quote on the front is from Laird Barron, if you've heard of that guy. A spooky novel of the terrible nature of humankind and the things we aren't meant to know. Baker manipulates fiction and metafiction with sure-handed grace. The Broken Hours by Jacqueline Baker. And along those lines of kind of a metafiction type thing is my last recommendation, The Night Ocean by Paul Lafarge. And it has to do with Lovecraft and um, Robert Barlow. Marina Willett, MD, has a problem. Her husband, Charlie, has become obsessed with the horror writer H.P. Lovecraft, and in particular, with the events of the summer of '34, when the reclusive Lovecraft lived for 2 months with a young fan named Robert Barlow and his family in Central Florida. Lovecraft was 43 that summer, and Barlow was 16. What were the two of them up to, and what did they feel for each other? Just when Charlie thinks he's solved the puzzle, a scandal erupts and he disappears. The police call it a suicide, but Marina doesn't believe them. As Marina follows her husband's trail in an attempt to learn the truth, the night ocean moves across the decades and across the length of the continent. I won't read the rest, but you get the idea of that one too. So, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books there. All very different, but maybe there's something in there that speaks to you. As far as what are my favorites of all of those? I would probably say, let me pick like three because of there's many of these are so different. I'm recommending all of them because I think so highly of all of them. Okay, that's the first thing. But The Broken Hours is just so haunting. The Immaculate Void, Brian Hodge. Majestic, Whitley Strieber. But that was really actually hard to say because I'm looking at Terrors. I'm looking at Deep Night. So anyway, I hope you guys get some enjoyment out of those. And no, never an easy choice to pick favorites. And if asked next week, I might pick three different ones. But the Broken Hours is that type of just sort of haunting, lonely book that connects with me. And I love that book. It's probably time for a reread for me. So, so anyway, you're welcome. Thank you. Um, Darren, I promised Darren we're going to talk about a little bit about astronomy, okay? And this won't be boring. At least I hope it won't be. I the thing with cosmic horror, it just it obviously goes hand in hand with astronomy, doesn't it? You know, um, and I've been interested in astronomy since I was a little kid. I remember, continually I would draw with crayons um, the solar system for any adult who would take one. Like my grandfather and people like that. And I remember the thing that first got me interested in astronomy is, um, wow, thanks. Oh my gosh. The thing that really got me interested in astronomy was uh, we had, this was the 70s, we had an, a set of encyclopedias huge in our house. And I I looked up Pluto. Speaking of dwarf planets, Kim. I looked up Pluto, and there was a artist rendition that looked, even back then, almost like a photograph, and it showed Pluto icy, um, just desolate and icy and cold, and in the night sky, um, stars, nothing but stars, um, no daytime, anything like that. And there was one star that you could see in the art, in the picture, that was just very slightly brighter than the rest. And the caption below said something like that, which really arrested my attention. And it said, at this distance, even though Pluto is orbiting the sun, it said it a lot better than this, I'm sure. Um, Even though the sun's gravity is affecting Pluto by so much, despite that great distance, the sun only appears on Pluto as just another star slightly brighter than the rest. That slightly brighter than the rest is a direct quote. It's been 50 years. But man, that really ignited my interest in astronomy. It really captured my imagination. And I kept going through the encyclopedia, of course, but um, that picture and the caption beneath it is really what got me, really got me. Um, so a few things. I think that one of the things that a lot of people maybe don't realize is just how far away everything is, even in our own solar system. As Douglas Adams said in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, space is mind-bogglingly big. You wouldn't even believe how big it is. Something like that. Um, my wife is hoping to teach that in her new school this year. I sure hope she can. Anyway, all right. I think all of you probably know that the sun is 93 million miles away from Earth, our planet. That latter part was probably unnecessary. I'm assuming you know that Earth is our planet. Anyway, so, uh, and the sun is just huge, obviously. A million Earths, if memory serves, could fit into the sun. Um, Now let's imagine I did some research before this, and let's imagine that the sun is, instead of its size, it to get a grasp on the distances between the planets in our solar system and say even the next star. Here's how it would scale down. If the sun was 1 foot in diameter, okay, just a foot in diameter, how far away would all the planets be? Oh, thanks, man. All right. So if the sun was only a foot in diameter, here's how it would shake out, okay? The planet closest to the sun is Mercury, as you probably know. The closest planet, Mercury, would be 42 feet away. Okay? That's the closest planet. The next planet is Venus. It would be 78 feet away. Earth would be 107 feet away. So again, if the sun is, a foot in diameter, something like that, a little bigger maybe, then we're 107 feet away from it. Um, Mars Third from the sun. Oh yeah, I do remember that one, Darren. That's a good one. Um, Mars would be 164 feet. Okay, so we've got Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, what they call the inner rocky planets. Um, so again, Mercury 42 feet away from the sun, Venus 78, Earth 107, Mars 164 feet. So if you begin to get a grasp of just how much empty space there is between. I mean, it's not this, these charts that we're used to seeing where it's the planets are all in a line or close to each other. It is absolutely nothing like that. Um, Although interestingly, they're all they orbit in a plane. You know, they're all more or less level in their orbits. They're not The planets aren't orbiting the sun like this. They all are pretty much like that. Jupiter. Now we get to the outer gas planets. Okay. Um, I don't want to talk down to anyone, so forgive me if some of this stuff But a gas planet is it really it is made of gas only. It has no all kinds of gases depending on the planet. It has no rocky center. Um, Now these gases are, especially on Jupiter, are incredibly dense. Um, Jeff, did you go away? I want you to know I recommended Punktown to everybody, in case you missed it. So we're at the gas planets now. Okay, now remember, the Earth is excuse me, the Sun is a foot in diameter. So on this scale, we here on Earth we're 107 feet away. Mars 164 feet away. Um, Now let's jump to the next planet. Jupiter would be 559 feet away. That's quite a jump from Mars to Jupiter. Of course, you do have the asteroid belt in between. Um, a dwarf planet, much like Pluto, Kim, called Ceres, is 297 feet away in this is in this example. By the way, if you like this kind of stuff, you should watch. I've started watching. You mind your manners, young lady. Uh, I've started watching a TV series called The Expanse. So, Darren and anyone else who is into all this stuff, you should watch it. You guys are really cheering me up. Thank you. So anyway, we jumped from 164 feet. We went through the asteroid belt at almost 300 feet away from the sun, and now we're at 559 feet. Now the next planet is Saturn. We're going from 559 feet, and Saturn is 1,030 feet away. I'll go a little bit more quickly now. Uranus, it's not Uranus, it's Uranus, is 2,065 feet away from the sun. Neptune is the next planet, 3,235 feet away. Pluto, Kim's favorite planet, dwarf planet, Kim, I meant to say. I'll never live that down. Is 4,247 feet away. Okay, so let's go back to Earth. The sun is a foot in diameter. On Earth, we're 107 feet away. All this empty space in between with the other planets. 107 feet away. Pluto is over 4,000 feet away. So you begin to get a grasp on just how empty space can be. Um, yeah, planetoid, dwarf planet. Um, it's a dwarf planet like Ceres and Eris and there are others. Um, by the way, Eris is way beyond Pluto, um, 7,293 feet away. So we got the sun at a foot in diameter, and on this scale, Eris still orbiting the sun. Its gravity is a couple thousand feet past a mile away. It's just mind-boggling. Now it gets even more mind-boggling. The nearest star, Proxima Centauri, nearest star to us, in this scale of the sun being a foot in diameter, now we're really jumping out of the solar system to the next system. It's 5,500 miles away. Miles on this scale. The center of the Milky Way galaxy, which is our galaxy, as I'm sure you know. Again, all of this is with the sun. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I am repeating myself, but it's just so important to remember. All of this is with the sun, um, only a foot in diameter. That's the scale we're working with. So the center of the Milky Way galaxy, we're out on one of the outer arms, is 33.6 million miles away. The next galaxy, Andromeda, technically next spiral galaxy, is 3.2 billion miles away. So I won't belabor the point, but you begin to see just how mind-bogglingly huge the universe is, and we've only covered this galaxy and touched on the next, you know. Um, Key observations. The inner planets, Mercury to Mars, lie within 165 feet of the Sun in this example, while dwarf planets like Eris extend over 1.3 miles away. Um, so, so yeah, that's it's incredible to me. It's just one of the many things that fascinate me about astronomy and why it's endlessly fascinating. There are always new things to learn. Um, Here's something interesting. I told you about the gas planets like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. So that begs the question, it's a very logical question. If they're gas giants, could you theoretically fly a spaceship through the middle of them and come out the other side? The answer is no, because the pressure is so intense that it makes the pressure at the bottom of the ocean look like a joke. You would Your spaceship wouldn't just be vaporized, it would be atomized. It would be down to its component atoms. That's how much um, pressure is going on there. I think I pulled up something about that. Oh yeah, okay. This is from livescience.com. Quote, to give a sense of the pressure near the sense of Jupiter, consider the Mariana Trench on Earth, which is the deepest place in our oceans. At nearly 7 miles deep, pressures reach just over 1,000 bars, which would feel like 8 tons of pressure per square inch on you. So up here, we're at 15 pounds per square inch. At the bottom of the ocean, we'd feel 8 tons of pressure per square inch. So we might not make it. All right, now bear that in mind. Near the center of Jupiter, I'm quoting again, pressures jump to megabars or 1 million bars. On top of these enormous pressures, temperatures also rise into the tens of thousands of kelvins, which is equivalent to tens of thousands of degrees Celsius. At that point, any spacecraft would not be just squished or melted, it would entirely disintegrate into its constituent atoms, which I already said. All right. What time is it? All right. If you guys want a little bit more, I can do that. If not, I can change subjects. Why don't you tell me while I take a drink of water and Coke here? Darren, I knew I had your vote, dude. You know something that surprised me? Now, I don't get as many views typically of the Thursday podcast as I do the Sunday one. And of course, the Sunday one gets many more listens, on the audio version on Spotify and Apple and so forth. Um, but I really love it. I love the Tuesday night one. I love all three, but it's just interesting how they're different. It was an experiment. I didn't actually think anyone would care, so thank you for caring. This is episode 48. I mean, geez. Uh, but even though it doesn't get the largest amount of views compared to Sunday, I've done a couple polls. I did this poll. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, 45% of you guys prefer the Thursday show over 36. I said which is your favorite of my podcasts? Excuse me. Sundays 36%, Thursdays 45%. Not sure 18%. If I flip on over to I did a poll on oh crap. Hang on a second. I did a poll over on YouTube posting on the channel. And it's somewhat similar. Which is your favorite podcast? Um, Thursdays, 57%. Sundays, 43%. So it's interesting, even though it's not as listened to as Sunday, then who's my favorite horror author of all time? It's really well, I'd say this, but it's really hard to pick a favorite. Um, but I will try. I'm gonna have to say, if I had to do the unthinkable and pick one favorite, I'll eliminate Friends. I'll take that out of the equation. So sorry, Laird and John and Brian and um, bunch of bunch of others, Gemma Files and people I know. Mm, I guess that excludes. Well, anyway, um, I'll say Ray Bradbury. Ray Bradbury. Even though I don't know that anyone would necessarily call him a horror writer, maybe horror sci-fi. He wrote a lot of horror. He wrote a lot of sci-fi. Wrote some really nostalgic stuff. Um, he was sort of a genre unto himself in a lot of ways. So I'd have to answer that with Ray Bradbury. So, oh, thanks, man. Wow. Maybe I guess I can get Netflix for a month. I'm gonna finish watching. the expanse first, though. All right, couple more facts about or thoughts about space, astronomy. Um, Here's something interesting. Well, it's kind of all interesting, isn't it? But um, see, this is a thing. Carl Sagan alludes to this in one of his books, and he talks about how, and this was the 30s, how boring his teachers, my wife doesn't do this, but how boring his teachers made science, made astronomy, made other subjects. And it's not boring at all. It's fascinating. Brandon says, Mike, did you see the Dodgers management chase out ice from raiding the stadium? Um, I guess not, since I don't know what that means. Anyway, he was just kind of alluding to just how fascinating um, it is, really. Um, Here's something cool. So, how long does it take us to go around the sun? Um, a year, right? 365 days. So how long, if you're a planet and you're closer in, your year is shorter. Mercury's year is 88 days. It only takes Mercury 88 Earth days, just for simplicity. 88 Earth days to rotate around the sun. Venus 225. So then you get past Earth, the years get longer. Mars 687. I won't go through the whole thing, but here's something really interesting, and this is from astronomy.com. Um, no, it isn't. It's from skyatnightmagazine.com. Okay. Quote, this is one of our favorite facts about space and perhaps the most memorable. Neptune takes 165 years, that's Earth years, of course, to complete one full orbit around the Sun. Since it was discovered in 1846, Neptune only finished its first full year since then, post discovery in 2011. That's how long it took. So here's here's kind of a cosmic horror thing, I think, and there's so many terrifying things um, with this. But if any of you are familiar with rogue planets or wandering planets, um, there are actually planets, many planets, that don't revolve around a star like Earth does, like the rest of the planets in our solar system do. They're just wandering out through space. They have no sun, no star, and they're dark, they're cold, most likely. Depends on their core. They're I just wonder what kind of life, if any, could evolve on some of those planets. Or, you know, I imagine Lovecraftian creatures landing on a cold rogue planet and making it one of their bases, for example. Um, they're they're really interesting to me. This is from Wikipedia. Rogue planets may originate from planetary systems in which they are formed and later ejected. kicked off the solar system island, so to speak. Or they can also form on their own outside a planetary system. The Milky Way galaxy alone may have billions to trillions of rogue planets. Um, just imagine that. There's an old science fiction story called A Pail of Water, and they made it into a really good old time radio episode of X minus one. It's really worth checking out. Um, Thank you again, Curse Lantern. I don't know your name, so I'll keep calling you that. Wow, man, thank you so much. Yes, their son voted them out. Absolutely. Why do those sounds? I don't know if I've read those, Jeff. Those speculations put me in mind of the great mind-blowing novels Last and First Men and Star Maker by Stapleton. Olaf Stapleton sounds familiar. I guess I'm gonna have to refresh my memory. Thanks, Jeff. Um, this story is called A Pail of Water. It's a short story. I forget who by, but it's one of the classic sci-fi writers. And you can probably find it for free online, but if you really want to be entertained, listen to just Google X minus one and A Pail of Air. It's probably on YouTube and, and other places. I have absolutely no doubt. So I don't know when it originally aired, probably late 40s, somewhere in the 40s, maybe early 50s, very early 50s. Um, X minus one was one that really fired my attention up when I was a kid. Um, and I remembered A Pail of Air my entire life. Yes, Fritz Lieber. Well, that fits, doesn't it? Anyway, yeah, listen to A Pail of Air X minus one. It's probably only like 25 minutes long, and it's just really interesting. And it's about this family, it's about this rogue planet. I guess I should get to the point of why I'm. It's about this. What happens in it is that this rogue planet passes by the Earth and just does massive gravitational damage and actually manages to eject Earth from our solar system, and we become a rogue planet wandering out there. And it's so cold in the story that oxygen has frozen, and this family has sealed itself off in this apartment building, and they the father feels that they're the last people alive on Earth, and it's a husband and wife and a boy and a girl, and the father was a scientist, so they've got a couple of spacesuits, and what they do is they've always got this fire going, and they'll go out and several times a day into this eternal night, this desolate eternal night that Earth has become, and take a bucket with them, and fill it up with frozen oxygen, and come back in and pour it on the fire so that they can breathe. It's an amazing story. You know, now that I recommend it, I never have actually looked up the science of that and if that's what would happen. But, whatever, doesn't matter. It's an amazing story where Earth becomes a rogue planet, because another rogue planet pulls it out of the system. And yeah, yeah, I know you like old time radio, Jeff. If you haven't heard that one, you should check it out. Um, so Well, I think we're right at an hour. I'll add with Rogue Planets that is, I mean, yeah, that happen conceivably? A rogue planet wander into our system and collide with Earth or do that kind of damage? Yeah, absolutely. It could happen. I mean, the chances are low, but yeah, it could happen. Actually, I didn't even get to everything that I wanted to get to, but there's always next week. So, yeah, check out A Pail of Air by Fritz Lieber. Thanks for the heads up on that. Check out X minus one, A Pail of Air. I think you'll really like it. Real quickly, again, your recommendations are The Night Ocean, Paul Lafarge, The Broken Hours, Jacqueline Baker. Really love that one. Um, Deep Night, Greg Jafune. Disturbing as hell. Great collection, Richard Lupoff. Classic, right, Jeff? Um, Immaculate Void, Brian Hodge. One of the best cosmic horror writers ever. This Thing Between Us, Gus Marino. And then I recommended Deeper by James A. Moore. If you like The Shadow over Innsmouth, you'll probably like this book. And last but not least, Whitley Strieber's Majestic. I wish I could remember the name of Strieber's werewolf book because it's really good. If only there was some way I could look that up. Strieber werewolf book. The Wolfen, right? Yeah, it's a good audio um, on Audible too. It's narrated very well. I wish Majestic was on Audible. I wish Majestic was on Audible. That would be great. Um, yeah, Kim, you beat me to it. The Wolfen. All right. I will see you guys Sunday. Thanks for spending part of your Thursday night with me, Thursday late night. Scott, was it you? I think it was you who sent me the email about listening to the Thursday night episodes and thinking about Art Bell from the high desert. Um, Art Bell's always kind of fun to listen to sometimes when I go to bed at night. Um, Not that I believe 1% of that's what they're talking about, but it's just fun to listen to. So so anyway, thanks to all of you. Jeff, everyone, good to see you. Curse Lantern. Um, Man, I can't wait to tell my wife what you did. Um, Thank you for all the donations. So, good night, everyone. I hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. And hey, I will see you Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Have a good Friday, okay? And sleep tight.